Hello and welcome to the Sci-Fi Show. Tonight we're going to be covering off a video from a Muslim who is asking questions to atheists. It's just 4 questions, so it should be quite a short video, but I'm very excited to get on with that. But before that, here's the intro. Hello and welcome to the Sci-Fi Show. I'm Joe.
And I'm Dave.
And it's good to have you here right at the start. Icarus, I see you in the chat talking about recent shows. You like Lord of the Rings for some reason. I mean, there's lots of reasons to like Lord of the Rings. I've been liking all the Star Wars ones from Disney as well, but I haven't had a chance to get around to Andor yet. I've been liking most of the Marvel ones that have come out as well. But yeah, there's so many different things. I've recently enjoyed Legion on Dave's recommendation that got progressively weirder and weirder. Didn't it, Dave? It's really good, and there's some good philosophy in there, but it does get to a point where it is more and more confusing. Although I don't know.
And seasons don't follow each other. Like at the end of season 1, you have the big battle, and then coming into season 2, it's like it never happened. And I think that's part of the unreliable narrator sort of thing that goes on within the show.
Yeah, very, very, very confusing. But when you sort of manage to follow it, it's good. I must admit, I couldn't bring myself to even watch Welcome to Wrexham as much as I do enjoy Ryan Reynolds. I mean, he's pretty cool dude. But I don't know
he's
if I can
barely a part of Welcome to Wrexham.
Oh, he's barely a part of it. Oh, then I wouldn't care about it anyway. I mean, I couldn't give a shit about football.
Well, it's about Wrexham more than just the football.
Okay.
And about them buying the club and about the fans and the change in the club and everything that they're doing. And it's way better than you think it would be. But I'm also right down the road, so.
Yeah. But looking at the other ones that you said, is there a new season of Rick and Morty out?
Started 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really? Oh, well, I cancelled my Netflix subscription, so that's probably why I haven't seen it.
It's not on Netflix yet.
Oh, okay.
We're acquiring it through other means.
That's naughty.
That pretty much sums me up most of the time.
So anyway, you're not here for the TV show banter and information, although maybe you are. I mean, it is part of what we do sometimes. We like discussing philosophy and different TV shows and things like that. But tonight's episode is dedicated to these 4 questions for atheists put forward to us by, well, not to us, to anyone who wants to answer them by a Muslim. There we go. So, as I mentioned, this is 4 questions to atheists and their purpose in life. And it's...
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 questions in each question as well, or at least for the first one and the second one.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't watch the others.
You read you watched the first 2, and
yeah.
I haven't seen any of these yet.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, today our video is about 4 questions to atheists. So let's begin in the name of Allah, most gracious and most merciful. First off, what is your main purpose in life? As an atheist, what is your main purpose in life? What do you wake up?
Do we stop there and answer that, or do we let him finish it?
So.
Okay, Dave. So, what is your main purpose in life?
To live it, basically, to enjoy it and do what I want to do and learn the things I want to learn. Be a good person, Basically, just what everybody else does.
Yeah, fair. Just like to say hello to Kim Owens, Frida, and Jeff. Nice to have you here as well. Sorry I didn't see you come in. And yes, I think to put it as concisely as possible, to live the best possible life that I can, and that best possible life doesn't include purposefully being a dick to other people, unless it's really, really funny. It's like Dave mentioned with sort of being a good person. I think there is a lot that comes from that, doing the best you can to be good. I think it's one of the reasons like the topic of morality interests me so much. But yeah, Jeff has a very valid point though. Main purpose is to go around knocking Bibles out of people's hands whilst doing parkour. Yeah. he doesn't mean that, in case he didn't know it. Trainwrecks has a comment saying, isn't this kind of question for everyone? I can imagine a Muslim not answering to serve Allah. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that people who are religious have some form of divine purpose, at least in most religions. So they have that sort of thing. So that what they're wondering is, without that divine purpose, what is your purpose? And I suppose ultimately there is no purpose, right? There's no divine purpose. From a biological necessity, it is to pass on your genes. You live, you breed, you die, rinse and repeat. But there's purpose that we can give our own lives. And yeah, to be excellent to each other.
Yeah, if you want an answer that sounds vaguely philosophical, my main purpose in life is to achieve eudaimonia.
It's a good one. I only know that word from one of our podcasts, though, Dave. So, would you like to explain what that means?
The good life. To achieve the best life possible, basically. It's a virtue ethics term. It comes from Aristotle. Yeah, and it basically just means the good life. That's what virtue ethics aims at, is to get you to the good life.
So, carrying on the video. Icarus says he wants to revise his answer. He wants to go for puns. I mean, that is a good purpose. And I think that has the ability to help one live the best life. So that's definitely part of living my best life. I mean, Icarus, did you see the image for this particular show? There was one right there on the front of it. I don't know if anyone picked up on it. I hope they did, but look at what I was thinking about.
In the morning and think of, what is the first thought in your mind when you wake up? What is...
Oh, it's morning. I've got to go to work. Get off my face.
For the last few days for me, it's, why is my goddamn heart beating so goddamn hard?
Yeah.
Cup of tea is what gets me up in the morning now.
Must be some pretty strong tea, Dave.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the cocaine too, but it's mostly the tea. But no, spending time with Emma gets me up in the morning. Studying gets me up in the morning. Not wanting to lie in bed all day, that gets me up in the morning.
I mean, for the most part, for me, that gets me up most days is the fact that the kids have woken us up, and I've got bills to pay, so I have to go to work. But that's not specifically what they are actually asking with this question. They are asking for the reasons behind all of that stuff, and it's like you mentioned, Dave.
the same thing that gets them up in the morning, even though they attribute it to Allah, is the same thing that gets us. Gets us up. They need to go to work. They need to pay bills. There's people they want to see, family they want to hang out with, that kind of thing. But they also attribute it to Allah.
Yeah.
Is the first thought in your mind when you wake up? What do you think? Okay, I have to go to work. I have to go to school. I eat, go home, sleep, and repeat. That's it.
Well, no, there's more to it than that. Like, you know, it's not... I mean, yes, from a very basic idea, it's a very rinse and repeat for everybody, because that's what everybody does. You just fill the time whilst you're awake with slightly different things. So some people might use it to pray and spend time with family and do this and do that. And some people do all those things without the prayer bit. I mean... If you actually strip back the average theist and the average atheist's life, there isn't all that much different between them at all.
No, not really.
We do a lot of the same things. Sorry, Dave.
I was just going to say, the first thought that I have when I wake up is, I need a piss.
Yep. I'm too tired to do a handstand.
Yep.
Eat, sleep, work, rinse, and repeat. They left out wank. He can use the same rhetoric to downplay everything, even his own position. Yeah, exactly. Completely agree with you. So, from a certain perspective, everybody goes through the same motions in their day. I mean, you might not eat if you happen to be fasting or can't afford it. You might not sleep if you've got insomnia. You might not go to work if you don't have a job. But certain things aside, everybody has that sort of pattern in their life. In fact, I don't even go to work anymore. I do work though. This is my office in the day, you know, and I work from home. So yeah, my going to work is walking across the garden.
Yeah, it's all my studies done from home downstairs. I do all my writing downstairs. So yeah,
like get money, get married, have family. And that's it. Is that really your main purpose in life? If you do not believe in Allah, if you do not believe in God, then what is your main purpose in this life? I am very confused because I see atheists everywhere. They are saying, oh, let's just have fun. We just live once. We just. They don't believe in life after death. So this will take us into our next question, which is going to be, what happens to you when you die?
Hang on. So there was different questions on the screen to what he was saying then?
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to get round to what was on the screen and it just didn't happen. So there was this bit and then it says, I'm very confused about atheism. Like, do you just believe in man-made science that has flaws? As opposed to man-made religions that have flaws.
Yeah, like it's not like the Quran isn't full of flaws.
It is.
Oh.
I mean, if you want to know why we think that the Quran is not perfect, Dave has a lovely article on the matter. I think we even covered it off briefly as a stream once, didn't we?
Stream, yeah.
Yeah, so if you prefer the video format, you can just search on our channel for that as well. So, do you just believe in man-made science? I mean, no.
No. Like you say.
Technically, there's no requirement from atheism. I mean, the way we prefer to use atheism is believing gods don't exist, but there are people who use the atheist label to describe any sort of non-theist. So without getting into that debate, The only requirement, and it's very minimal, is not believing in a god. And there is nothing else that really unites all atheists. You will find groups of atheists acting in certain ways. I mean, humans are tribalistic creatures, so we do seek out people with similar morals and philosophies and worldviews and so on and so forth. So you will get a group of atheists that are awfully scientistic, that do treat science as if it is some sort of religion. Even though they'll say they're not, they do deify it. But many don't as well. But there's plenty of other things to believe in that are outside the realm of science. So, yeah, does that answer that one?
I believe in just war theory, virtue ethics, sound epistemology, having a good time. I believe in watching some great TV shows. There's lots I believe in outside of man-made science. I will say there is one thing that unites all atheists, though. Arguing over what the word atheism means.
Icarus puts this question back to him. I'm very confused about theism. Do you just believe in man-made Bible, Quran? Similar to what I said. Jeff says, I think he just answered his own question there. We don't need God in our lives, but we find purpose in our lives through many different ways. Just trying to find the best and most fulfilling life. Definitely. Yes, Jeff. No, the only thing that unites us is the rocks beneath our feet. So,
I never step outside, so I never step on rocks.
Okay, the rocks that form your walls.
I live in a log cabin.
No, I think you'll find that actually it happens constantly online. If you even suggest that atheism can be defined in different ways, you'll have someone telling you that no, it's only defined in one way, and that you're defining it wrong. Yeah. So gonna be a.
Happens to you when you die?
What happens to you when you die? You die. Nothing more really happens to us. There's nothing left going on. We don't really know, ultimately. There are people who think that there is some form of continuation of, consciousness at a quantum level. There are some who just say, no, it's just your energy returning to the earth and the universe and whatever. But ultimately, what happens after you die, nothing happens to us because we're dead, we're gone, but it happens to everyone else still.
Yeah, what happens is, if you've led a good enough life, your family and friends will miss you. Yeah. And if you're doing something important, that important thing might not happen. Like, imagine somebody on the cusp of curing cancer and dying. When they die, something terrible happens.
Yeah, most definitely. Icarus says, when you die, you are dead. You are burned or buried. Yep. Oh, you might be thrown out to sea. I would.
If you've got the wrong morgue attendant, you get desecrated.
I was thinking about being compressed into a diamond.
I already am.
Hey. Jeff, we only believe in science because philosophy should be abandoned, at least according to some people. Yeah, it's I've had a few of those frustrating conversations recently online with the anti-philosophy crowd. Those conversations are ones that I need to start avoiding, much like the definitions of atheism conversations. If you're particularly unlucky, you may be eaten. I mean, if you're really, really unlucky, it'll happen whilst you're still alive.
Don't forget to film it, though, because you'd be a star.
Seriously, like, you just die, sleep. Because I have seen atheists online, because there are zero atheists in my country. And they said, when you...
So that's an interesting one. So there's no atheists where he's from. Now, is it a case of there's actually no atheists, or the atheists that are in the country are afraid because being an atheist is punishable by death there? I don't know where you are, but there are certain countries that, you know, being an atheist is that much of a crime. Just simply being an atheist can get you put to death.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's that one. Because it's impossible for there to be a country with no atheists. Especially if you take the weaker definition.
Yeah. I was just going to say, it depends on the definition you're using, but yeah.
Also, he said, do you just go to sleep when you die?
No.
No, because sleeping is a very different thing to dying.
All of your bodily processes are still happening whilst you're asleep. I mean, your heart rate and everything slows down, but there's still brain activity. Your heart's still beating. You're still breathing. Blood's still pumping.
You're dreaming.
Yes.
But you still have a level of awareness.
Yeah. You can wake up. So, no, you don't just sleep for eternity. There's nothing. Which is kind of hard to imagine. I understand it's hard to imagine. And the only way you can really ever think about it is think about what it was like before you were born. Which you can't do either, but that's just sort of it. The experience you have after your death is basically the same as the experience before your life. Nothing. There was no experience. It's not going to sleep. There's no failure. There's nothing like what it's like to be dead. You don't have an experience.
There's no qualia anyway. Just ask Daniel Dennett.
We don't know if there's anything after death, but we could look at Michael Martin's atheist wager and talk about leaving a positive legacy. Yeah, definitely. I think that we should all try and leave some sort of positive behind us, which, yeah, can be quite difficult, especially with the rise in all the prices everywhere and everyone scrimping to even get by. But yeah, Nerdy Rent, the world was rubbish before I was born. It's like the writer of those questions knows those don't make much sense or carry much weight, so he spices them up with words like just. I'm not sure I'd read into it that way. Maybe you're right. But I think it's from his perspective. He doesn't know any atheists, right? So even if there are some where he lives, none of them are out, right? Because it's dangerous for them to be out. So some of these questions will be a bit incredulous because from his environment, we atheists have those extraordinary beliefs because everybody believes the same thing as him. So they are the ordinary beliefs from his perspective. So that's why these questions are being asked like this. You know, do you just sleep for eternity? Just enjoy life? Oh my God, I mean, this doesn't make sense to me. I think that if we treat them like that, if we try and understand where he's coming from with these questions, we can probably give him an answer that will help him realize that maybe it's not exactly the way he thinks it is, but we understand why he thinks the way he thinks. Kimo says, I shall return if I find the state of death to be too disagreeable. Some famous dead guy whose name I can't recall. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that bit, Dave?
No. There's some stuff in the question about to be asked, or the questions about to be asked. So,
Die, you just sleep forever. Sleep. Finish. خلاص. You sleep forever. So by that logic, I can kill everyone. I can kidnap everyone. Then go to jail. Kill myself. Sleep forever. Or I can just give a lot of money into charity, 700 million, 800 million, 1 billion, 100 million.
To the, yeah.
I'll just leave it there, but yeah. So he can just kill everyone and kill himself. I mean, you can do that now. But I think the point is saying that there's no consequence. Well, from our perspective, there is no consequence for you either. You just believe that there's a consequence. And something that you'll have to consider here, if you're only not killing a ton of people because there's a consequence after your life, are you really doing it because it's the right thing to do, or are you doing it because you don't want to be punished?
Yeah. Also, the going to jail and being dead are the consequences. So there is still consequences. There might be no consequences after life, but there's still consequences within this life.
But I will agree as well, though, there are some people who get away with it, right? And they don't face the consequences. Yeah. And it's horrible that they get away with it. And I don't like that they get away with it. I don't think that the especially the Abrahamic takes on things like hell, for example, are particularly just. But there are times when I think it would be good if there was something for justice to be served, because if it's not served in this life, then yeah, wouldn't it be great if there was some form of justice? But the fact of the matter is there isn't, as far as we can tell, anything else. And that doesn't mean that we should just go around killing and raping everyone and killing ourselves at the end of it. We should do our best with our life to make the world a better place, to be a good place for the generations after us, and hopefully continue making it better with each generation instead of it getting worse. And there are so many ways that this can be done. So yeah, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, and if you're going around doing all these things, you're likely to not be living a very happy life, or a very good life, or a very long life. So there are a lot of consequences to doing all this kind of stuff. And he talks about dying as if that's the end. But you can live for much longer if you do great deeds. I mean, we still talk about Plato, Socrates.
Yeah, a living memory.
Yeah, that's it. And that's your consequence. You can live forever, or live for a very long time after your death, either in a good or a bad way. You can be seen as an example of how not to behave, or an example to behave.
Yeah, I mean, you throw it out there, you think about all the world leaders who've committed a lot of genocide and stuff like that. they're going to be remembered for a very long time in a very negative way.
And they also do some good because most people want to move away from that and want to stop that thing happening again. Even if there is like people that like neo-Nazis who try to recreate it, most people see them as horrible and do their best to fight back against them.
Yeah, before it becomes a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least until Trump came along. Anyway. I'm just catching up with the chat. Sorry, 1 second. Icarus, you brought him up. I was literally trying to avoid. But yes, you can literally be Hitler and die. Yeah, there you go. We didn't choose to be atheists. No, that's something that you might not understand as well. I don't know what your entire experience is. You can't choose what you believe and what you don't believe. You can't choose what you're convinced by. I mean, what you believe is essentially what you think is the case, you know, so I think gods don't exist, and there's plenty of reasons for why I think gods don't exist. I can't suddenly choose to, believe in God today. I was brought up in a theistic sort of way of living, went to Christian schools, surrounded by loads of religious people. Dave grew up in a very atheist sort of environment. But we've come to similar conclusions on a theological point. None of it was a choice, though. It's, you know. And Frida says, oh no, Nerdy Rodent says, how do I get my 72 virgins? Oh, words. And Srida says, there was no afterlife with punishment and reward in ancient thought until the apocalyptic preachers of which Christ was one. Yeah, it depends. Ancient Egyptians had the weighing of the hearts, didn't they? Which depended on which sort of afterlife, and if your heart weighed the same as a feather, then you went to the good afterlife. I can't remember the specifics. It's been such a long time, about 30 years since I've got involved into Egyptian mythology. But there wasn't anything quite like the eternal punishment of hell from what I've looked into for the longest of times. Even the ancient sort of like underworld, like Hades, wasn't like a hell. It was a hell with one L, but it wasn't the same sort of eternal punishment type thing. But yes, Jeff says that I think the idea of some kind of cosmic justice is very appealing, whether it be damnation for evil people or the concept of karma. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of karma and the whole reincarnation thing. You know, you get a chance to do a little bit better, you know, in your next life. Eternity just keeps getting longer. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Eternity is actually so hard to conceive of, and the idea of an eternal punishment seems very unjust and immoral. No matter what someone's done, I think. Yes, Kimo. Hindu has some very esoteric ideas about punishment and reward, karma. Yeah.
100 million, 800 million, 1 billion, 100 million. Then I die, sleep forever. There is no bad or good in the mind of an atheist.
So there's two things there. Yes, you can do those positive things and you leave behind a good legacy. No, you don't sleep forever. You can do those good things, and as we mentioned, you'll leave a good memory. You'll leave a good example. You'll enrich other people's lives. The comment, though, about saying there is no good or bad in an atheist's mind is kind of wrong. I think all atheists have a sense of right and wrong, good or bad. We might not agree on what something is. Some will say that there's not necessarily any truth to morality. It's, just expressions of emotion or instructions or things like that. But most will say that there is some form of truth, at least in a relativistic sense. And some atheists are realists, and there are other positions that they might hold as well. So to say that there's no good or bad in an atheist's mind is kind of wrong.
Yeah, even if you believe that morals are simply preferences or expressions of emotion and that kind of thing, everybody still has ideas about what's good and bad. I mean, I would say that a country that makes people so scared to admit that they don't believe in God that it fools people into thinking there are no atheists in their country might be a bit of a bad country.
Yes, you could say that.
Everyone is the same. Everyone. LGBT. Just be gay. Just be trans. Be transsexual. Gender fluid. Helicopter man. Just you die. Sleep forever.
So, I mean, it sounds like there's a bit of bigotry coming through there. I mean, that could be influenced by the religion, obviously. But then, there you go. There's another negative. And look, there you go. There is good or bad in our mind because we're judging that statement as bad.
Absolutely fucking horrible.
Yeah. And again, you can't choose whether you're anywhere on the LGBTQ plus spectrum. You can't. It's just the way you were born. There can sometimes be other life factors that might cause certain things, but in general, it's just the way you are. So it sounds like you're saying here that you've got a problem with anyone LGBT, etc. That is a form of bigotry, and I think that has probably been influenced by your upbringing, and you'll find a lot of people will say that is wrong, especially atheists, because I mean, people do deserve to be treated the same. Obviously, you're going to treat your family maybe with a little bit more care than others, but everybody should be treated equal. And at the end of the day, if there is a God, shouldn't you be treating the people around you with love and let your God deal with the judgment, right? So it shouldn't matter if someone is a sinner in your eyes or in your God's eyes. You should still be someone who treats everybody with love and respect.
Is that really what happens with you atheists? You guys die, sleep forever. Kill everyone, sleep, die, خلاص, finish. So I need an answer for this, a very logical answer that will make me convinced. So the third question is, if the universe is random and an axis...
Notice at the end there, in the image, it said, with true sources. I'd like him to do the same thing when it comes to Islam.
Yeah, but he'll just point to the Quran.
Yeah, and we all know that's not a true source because of how much crap is in there.
Yep.
Why does the world run in such perfect rules? For example, why...
Okay, if the universe is random and an accident, why is everything perfectly made and has no mistakes? Well, everything isn't perfectly made. Whether you're a theist or an atheist, it doesn't make any difference. Look at how eyesight diminishes. Look at cancer. Look at all the different infectious diseases and parasites and all sorts that happens. I mean, that's perfect, is it? Really? When you say random and an accident, see, accident is something that I think is a little bit of a red herring here. Not so much that it's an accident, just that something that happened by chance.
Yeah, random and accident aren't the same thing.
No.
With an accident, there has to be intention to do another action, but you accidentally do something else.
So, for example, if I was going to give Dave a hug and I tripped and punched him in the face instead, that would be an accident.
That would be me deserving it.
But that would be an accident. So if for the universe to be an accident, that would mean that there was some intent for something else to happen, and then the universe happened. So it's not that. And you could even argue that the universe isn't completely random either. It might have been chaotic, but if you look at the laws of cause and effect, there is a pattern. It's a very chaotic and deep pattern that spreads back for billions of years, and we have trouble tracing it accurately. And there's certain indeterminate or things that at least seem indeterminate in there as well. So there is elements of randomness even within the determinacy, but it's not as completely random as that.
Yeah, and if you already view everything as being perfectly made, you won't see any mistakes in it, because as far as you're concerned, that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I mean, if you really can look around at everything and see everything as perfect, I think you need to open your eyes.
Yeah, also, if we go back to his last question, he's already admitted that everything isn't perfect because he was complaining about the existence of LGBT.
Yeah, exactly. And who made them, in your eyes? No mistakes? Dude, look at Dave's glasses. Nerdy Rodent points out that, the perfectly made COVID.
Perfectly made bugs that burrow into children's eyes so that they play for larvae.
Icarus reckons that accident is an appeal to feeling fallacy. I think Q3 might be referring to everything being fine-tuned. Yeah, I mean, fine-tuning is one of those common arguments you do hear.
I think it is, but there's a little more implied. He goes a little bit more into detail, I guess. Like, not only is the universe fine-tuned for life, but everything is perfect.
But yeah, I mean, I think we can easily draw lines to how it's not perfect, which we've already done. And if you're talking about just fine-tuned, I mean, the simplest way to answer that one is just go puddle analogy. Got to thank Douglas Adams for that one. Bible says, "Show me one perfect thing."
I could show you my penis, but YouTube wouldn't like it.
I mean, there's probably a couple of perfect things on Instagram, but it's all fake.
And this is perfect.
Hey.
There we go.
If Da Vinci couldn't get a helicopter off the ground, helicopters don't exist. You need Orville and Wilbur Wright to design such an aircraft, and they're long gone.
They took off a while ago.
Oops. There you go, Icarus.
Does the sun always rise at 4 in the morning? For example, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, the sun rises.
But it doesn't always rise at the same time. And actually, the sunrise is a fiction. The sun doesn't actually rise. It just looks like it does to us. So we understand what we mean by the sun rising. But it's actually, sort of the rotation of the Earth as we spin around the sun. And,
this kind of goes to show what I just said, where he's just saying, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. It's perfect. There can be no flaw with it. He's just calling everything perfect without actually thinking about what that means. Well, of course the sun rises every morning. That's just the way it is. There's nothing perfect or imperfect about it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd prefer it if the sun rose 4 hours later.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's not perfect?
Yes. I'd like it if it didn't rise until about, like 8, 9 o'clock at night.
No. Yeah. No, I actually like sunlight during the day, but if it's too bright in the morning, it wakes me up too early.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And obviously, if you've got kids, God, does it give them an excuse to be jumping on you even earlier? It's light outside. Yes, but it is only 3:30.
Yeah. Also, what about those countries that have daylight for a very long time? They have that period where there is no dark.
Yeah, and then they have that period where it's just completely dark for like a month.
Yeah, so apparently sun doesn't rise perfectly every morning, not everywhere.
Icarus says if day and night was perfect, a day would be exactly 24 hours and a year exactly 365 days. I disagree with you here. I think there should be about 30 to 36 hours in a day, so that you have more time after work or whatever to do your own thing and more time to sleep. And I'd also like time to be a bit more metric. So like 400 days or 360 days, and there'd be like 100 minutes in an hour and 100 seconds in a minute. And the length of a second and a minute might obviously be a bit different because of this. But I'd like it to all be, metric anyway. But yes.
Damn American.
Why not does it rise at the night at midnight? Why do I not see the sun at 12?
Yeah, we've already kind of covered that it isn't perfect. But if it rose at midnight, we would just change the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really silly. Like we've based our time around what the sun does. The sun doesn't work to our clock. If we were to change our time, the sun wouldn't change. Our clock is based on what the sun does.
And also, in a few billion years, there will be no night and day because there will be no world. And would a solar eclipse count as night during the day?
I don't know.
When it goes dark during the day?
Yeah. I understand what you mean. I just don't know. Would it actually count as night?
Well, in his idea, where you can never have night during the day, well, it does go black during the day. It goes dark during the day. In certain circumstances.
Might be reading too much into it, though.
Yeah, but that's me. I mean, that's what I believe.
Kimo says the doctrine of Immaculate Conception sort of contemplates a perfect being. Mary was born without spot, immaculate. And goes on to say the invention of the clock instituted a whole new type of tyranny to human life. Yes, it did.
It's what Marx fought against.
How can a planet falling through a gravity well around a star make a mistake? I don't think he understands as much about science as he thinks it does. Jeff says, you'd think if time is perfect, it would be designed around a nice round number like 10. Yeah, that's why I was talking about time being metric. You know, we definitely need metric time. Maybe that should be my first government poll. Change time to metric. Oh, I guess they really like the number 6. It does work, actually. Maybe that's the problem.
And at 12 in the midnight. Why do I not see the sun? I want to see the sun in the night. Why? Explain to me. Why does the moon rise up at a certain time, and why does the earth have a very specific orbit? Why does the 8 planets...
Well, as far as I know, the Earth doesn't have a very specific orbit.
I was just going to say that. No, you're right. It doesn't have a very specific orbit. That's one of the reasons that you can sometimes get, ice ages and things like that, is the fact that we've moved to an orbit that is slightly further away from the sun. There's other things that can be involved in an ice age as well, obviously, greenhouse gases and the like. And it's not the same orbit. It's constantly going around, constantly shifting. So, and that can be some of the changes in the seasons, why you're suddenly having a bit of a hotter summer or a colder winter or a hotter winter. So yeah.
Also, if he wants to see the sun rise at nighttime, move to a Scandinavian country or Alaska.
Yeah.
Planets of the solar system have a very inline orbit. Right.
Right. I mean, none of them crash together. I mean, have to look at the orbits. They don't really cross over, but they could. But you've got to think about it's a lot of it is based on the distance of their orbit, and a lot of that is influenced by so many other things. But this is just like, it's not a precise orbit, as we've said. It's something that constantly changes, and there is a chance that they could crash. And I mean, look at meteors and things like that as they pass through our solar system. Sometimes the planets get hit, sometimes the moon gets hit, and sometimes they miss us completely. But one day that could be a planet hitting into us.
Just ask the dinosaurs if passing things can't crash into the planet. Oh wait, you can't, because a random thing crashed into the planet.
Does that mean it's random and an accident? Everything was formed from a boom, bang, bang.
And that's a misunderstanding of the Big Bang. Now, I understand why, but the Big Bang's actually a bit of a misnomer. It wasn't really an explosion, more of an expansion, an inflation, if you will. It's just the media back then got a hold of it, and that sort of stuck.
Who is holding this universe in place? Dukes of Hazzard.
Jeff says, once again, if orbits are perfect, why is there the potential for a large asteroid hitting Earth? Yep. And Icarus says, all the planets which could clash together did so millions of years ago already. It's just planet natural selection. I like it. Kimo says, geological time seems to be a big head scratcher for theists. Yeah.
And then we are here. Like, seriously. we just exploded first.
No, I mean, I think you actually
seriously.
Yeah, like I think you need to look into what's actually being said by sort of the Big Bang Theory. If you think about it, there was never nothing, right? There was always something in the universe, right? It was just densely packed energy, pure light energy, essentially, and these photons are weightless, so pure weightless energy. Sort of formed matter and antimatter pairs, and they were perfectly balanced. And then there were little quantum twitches, virtual particles, and they're just a byproduct of a vacuum. And something happened, and it knocked one of the matter and antimatter pairs out of their arrangement, and it caused a chain reaction of everything that has led to today. It's not quite how you're thinking about it, I don't think.
So we were fish. Then we became monkeys. Then monkeys went to cavemen. Then cavemen became humans, and evolution stopped on humans.
No, evolution hasn't stopped. We're still evolving now. Everything is constantly evolving. If we weren't evolving, then we'd all be clones.
If we weren't still evolving, people wouldn't have been arguing for the herd immunity for COVID.
Yeah. True. And that's a really, really, again, a basic look at evolution. So, I mean, I think you need to have a look into the Big Bang Theory. I think you need to have a look into evolution. In fact, about 4 or 5 years ago now, I think it was, I wrote an article called "Why Do Christians and Muslims Reject Evolution?" Now, to be fair, most Christians and a lot of Muslims don't reject evolution. But it was looking at the types of Christians and Muslims that do, and it's got some evidence in there of recent examples of evolution. I mean, I say recent, it was 5 years ago, but you can still see it happening. I mean, as Dave mentioned, with the viruses, I mean, viruses and bacteria are evolving all the time, but people are evolving all the time. There are people who are having recessive traits come out of them. There's new traits coming in. Minor changes, but that's sort of the process of evolution. Just adaptation and sometimes copy errors causing, like little mutations in the cells that sometimes benefit us more than not. And over time, these tiny little changes become big changes. I mean, you could consider it, say if you were to look at a scrapbook of, I say a scrapbook, like a photo album of all of your family members going back 200 years, right? And so you look at you and you look at your parents. You can see similarities between you and your parents. And then you look back at your grandparents, you see similarities between your parents and your grandparents. And you can follow this chain, and then you have a look and you go, well, your great-grandparents and you, there's already like quite a considerable difference, even though as you've gone back, you can see the likenesses between each link, or even each couple of links. There's a big link. Now you imagine going that over sort of a 200-year period. There's a lot of changes. Now you do that over 200,000 years, which is the sort of lifespan of the Homo sapien. You can see how there's been quite considerable changes in us. And then you do that over billions of years, so that all the life on this planet, you can understand why this photo album looks so different by the time you go back that far in time. And Frida says, so he thinks nothing exploded and the entire universe sprung forth fully formed, like Athena from the forehead of Zeus. Christian YECs often say the same thing. I mean, yeah, I think it's a misconception because it's one of those things that's just generally put forward. And when you're stuck in a particular epistemic bubble, everybody is saying the same thing. And that's why you don't know any different. And then when someone says, well, no, that's not actually how it is, sometimes you can be quite resistant to that idea as well. Again, we bring it back to some of the conversations we have with our fellow atheists who have had it drummed into them that there's only one definition of atheism, and we tell them that there isn't. And they're like, rah, 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 because in their particular epistemic bubble, there is only one definition that they're aware of. Icarus says, evolution decided to stop at human beings. Dear Mr. Misdom, are you surprised that evolution stops in the present and doesn't go into the future until until future actually happens? Yeah. Remember, time exists. Did you have anything to add to that bit, Dave?
No, I mean, I was going to say something similar. Like, if we can have industrial things said in 1200 AD, if we can have industrial things, then how come we only have crossbows? It's, yeah.
Why do humans do not evolve anymore? Why do I not have wings? For example, I evolve into a bird.
And like I said with the COVID thing, people are evolving more immunity. Immunizations? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. The COVID jab. The reason we have the COVID vaccinations, thank you. It's been a very long day. Very long few days. Yeah. The whole reason vaccinations work is because we are still evolving.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's why they're needed as well, to stop the viruses from evolving. He just said something there, why don't we just evolve into a bird or a bear or something like that? Again, that
why
shows,
haven't we evolved wings?
Yeah, again, that shows a misunderstanding of evolution.
We have evolved wings, they're called planes.
Yeah. Things evolve to adapt to their environment so they can survive. And if they don't adapt to a change in their environment, they die. But humans have evolved the ability to adapt their environment to them. So we can live in incredibly cold places, but we've built these houses and central heating and warm clothes and things like that, and we can survive in situations that aren't actually suited to us. But because of this, we haven't needed to evolve the ability to survive. But you look at Inuits, they have an extra layer of fat or something like that, don't they, Dave?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I mean, if that's an old wives' tale.
It might be an old wives' tale that I've picked up, but whatever. There are people who have evolved to different environments. I mean, a typical one that you can see is people who come from hotter countries tend to have darker skin. That is just one example of all the different things in there. And why don't we grow wings? Well, no, got no need to. Especially as Dave mentioned, we've managed to build planes.
Well, the other thing that this forgets to take into account is that we have a past history of evolution. So there may be some things that we can't actually evolve because of that past history. Evolution might not be fixed in the future, but that doesn't mean that certain things are possible. It's sort of like saying, well, I've got this road in Saudi Arabia, and it's been built to go from Riyadh to Mecca or whatever. Why doesn't it take me to New York?
Kimo says, theists can't resist the lure of a teleological conclusion. After all, it's built into the premises. I mean, you're right. Premises. Icarus says, evolution is not a ladder. Evolution ape to human is not a fixed thing. No. And technically we are still apes. And we are still monkeys. And, you know, we're all primates, so on and so forth. He then goes on to say, evolution goes into random directions based on their current environment. That's why whales went back into the ocean after they evolved to be land creatures. Didn't know.
Whales isn't in the ocean. I'm sitting on dry land right
now. Kimo says, if there is a point, survival isn't it? Individual reproduction is. I think it's gene survival more, isn't it? Through production. But yes. Evolution is more like a bush than a tree, and it's certainly not a ladder. That's some Victorian idea of becoming better, moving towards perfection, which to them in the middle class white men, which to them was middle class white men. Yes. Yeah, there's quite a good infographic about sort of how evolution works, and it's when you say it's like a bush, if you imagine it like a sphere with a point in the middle and all the little bits coming off of it and all the different paths going down either side. I'd give my right arm to be ambidextrous.
So that's my third question. Now the fourth and last question: why are you an atheist?
Because I believe gods don't exist.
So I don't have to ask silly questions like any of the ones in this video.
If you're,
so I don't have to hate LGBT people.
I mean, if you're genuinely interested in the answer, I actually wrote a post a couple of months ago now. I think it was called "Why Do I Believe No Gods Exist?" It's 3 or 4 pages on the site. Take you quite a long while to read through, I guess, if you're a slow reader, or even if you're not. It basically starts off as my history, going into what I believed growing up, and then when I started becoming agnostic, and all the reasons that I am now an atheist and all the arguments that can keep me in my atheism. So if you go to answersinreason.com, that's answers-in-reason.com, and on the homepage, it's probably the second or third one down. Why do I believe gods don't exist? You can have a full answer there, but there's tons of good arguments. In fact, what I will briefly do, actually, is I can list off some of the arguments from the article, and if you haven't heard any of them, maybe you can look into them a little bit more detail. Now, obviously, it wasn't necessarily these arguments that led me to atheism in the first place. It was more of a case of my experiences and my own thought processes and everything like that. I wasn't aware of all of the philosophical arguments, and some of them were definitely better written versions of thoughts that I had, and there were others that I'd listened to that I was like, oh yeah, that one's good too. So define divine hiddenness and the hiddenness argument, logical impossibilities and contradictions within various God claims and religions, the various problems of evil, like the logical, evidential, teleological, evolutionary suffering, types of problem of evil, all of them combined. The fact that there are multiple different God concepts out in the world, and that there seems to be no unifying perfect book that is easy for everyone to understand, that is without error, that has made predictions of the future that have actually come true, that have made accurate science claims about things in the universe that we were yet to discover, and then did discover and confirm were true, rather than going, oh look, there's another thing in this book that was wrong, oh here's another thing that was wrong. There's plenty of models that work without gods, plenty of experiential things. There's the moral arguments like meager moral fruits, the fact that, if morals are actually written on our hearts, then why do we disagree over them so much? There's plenty of immoral doctrine in various religions. The gaps that are often filled with gods are closing and being closed more and more by things like science. Religions fade over time. There's plenty of evolutionary reasons for religion and assigning agency. Metaphysical naturalism. And a bunch of other ones are in there as well. That's just to list a few from the article. There's lots in there. Covered off briefly as well. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, generally the universe doesn't appear to be any kind of place that is run by any kind of God that humans have described. Start with a lot of religious people like to look at the trees. So they have this intuition that God exists, and that for them that appears to be evidence. But my intuition leads to it being a place without a perfectly loving kind of creator and father figure. So if it's evidence for God, it's also evidence against God. The arguments are incoherent, unconvincing. And if we're going to go to, say, Islam, because that's what he is, as far as he's concerned, all the other religions are false anyway. So I might as well just focus on that. The Quran is definitely not a perfectly book, as I show in my article. There's a lot of mistakes in it. Not a lot of the morality in it is something that I would consider moral. So if morality is written on our hearts, then it seems pretty, or written on our hearts from God, then it seems pretty obvious that it's not from a God. So, but also it's just not a very good book with lots of mistakes in it, even. To sum it up quickly.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Just before we carry on, I'm going to see in the chat we've got what Joe said. He also says Europe is more secular than other countries, and religion isn't put into your face all the time. I mean, it really isn't. In fact, it's kind of weird when it is. Over here, it's yeah. Blind people can't look at the trees unless they're braille trees, I suppose.
I mean, theoretically, paper is created from trees.
Yeah.
And there's braille paper, so there's braille trees. Transitive properties.
Seriously, why are you an atheist? So, did you ever research about any other religion? For example, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Buddhism, any other...
So, just to come back to what he says on the screen there, or are you just good at insulting religions? I don't know if I'm good at it. I don't think I'd do it. I mean, the odd individual who I've had enough with, maybe, but in general, I try to be respectful to my discussion partner, unless they're not being respectful. But even these days, I just sort of try and back out of the conversation. I fail sometimes. I rise to it and get involved. You know, I'm far from perfect because I'm a very flawed character. But did you ever give some of your time to research more about religion? Yeah, I mean, as I said in that article, I grew up going to Christian schools, saying the Lord's Prayer every day. I learned a lot about other religions. One of my favorites to learn about was Hinduism. I thought it was absolutely cool. And there are plenty of other religions other than the ones that you mention as well. So yes, I have given time to researching other religions, and no, I don't really go around insulting religions, unless you perceive me saying that I think they're false as an insult. But that's not the intention I'm going with. I can understand why, because it's something that is tied to your ego, to your personality, and hearing that something that is very close to you is false could seem like an attack on you or your ego, and that's not the intention, though.
Any other religion?
How do you insult religions like Christianity? Your mom's so fat she needs a full library for her Bible. Lone Wolf, we now have proof. Joe is really a theist. He went to school and said prayers every day. Chill. Kimo says, Braille porn, best porn. Take it from me. I mean, it might be a bit sticky, but you insist.
Why? So, is your purpose just to wake up, brush your teeth, go to school or go to work, and go to home, eat, sleep, and die? Sleep forever? Is that it? So this just shows.
So life is a test, right? So if life is a test, but your God knows everything, it's a pretty pointless test because God already knows what is going to happen, surely. I mean, kind of an evil test, really.
Also, I thought life was a box of chocolates.
As for free will, I mean, I suppose from here you're talking about libertarian free will, and I don't necessarily take that view. No. I mean, I think there's always causal factors. I'm not a hard determinist, but I know some people conclude that there's no significant difference between compatibilism and hard determinism. But I mean, I don't want to go down the free will rabbit hole right now, but you say that we're given the ability to learn and given free will because life is a test and we're here for a reason. What, to be your God's playthings? He already knows the conclusion. And if we don't love him, he's gonna burn us for all eternity. Eternal conscious torment. And we're given the ability to learn, right? But from what we've seen tonight, your understanding of time, geology, evolution, planetary motion, orbits, and all sorts are seriously lacking. So you've been given this ability to learn, maybe you should use it. I'm not saying it will convince you to be an atheist. And to be honest, I don't want to convince you to be an atheist. If you're happy being a theist and you're doing good things, I mean, obviously I don't like your bigoted comments about the LGBT crowd, but that aside, like, I don't need you to change your beliefs for any particular reason. But you're saying you were given the ability to learn and you were given free will because life is a test. So, is part of your test actually learning the facts? Or is part of your test refusing to learn things and staying in your epistemic bubble? Because why were you given the ability to learn then? Is knowledge really an evil thing?
Yeah, so my view on this is, well, let's take the idea that life is a test and that there is a God, and this God has written morality in our heart and given us free will. So he's given us the ability, or it's given us the ability to see what is immoral. What if the test is to see through man-made religions and go beyond them and be an actual good person without needing some kind of guidance like that, and without being dogmatic? And so this person would fail the test.
Yeah.
Because he's just clinging to an obviously bad religion that makes him hate a big group of people around the world.
I've said a similar sort of thing to Christians in the past, actually, where I said, you can even see within the Bible that there's certain shifts in God's morality. But maybe that's, let's look at things how they are right now. And let's give them a start. Let's put some rules down. I mean, I'm not a theist, but if I was, but let's put some rules down. Now let's slightly tweak those rules so they're a little bit nicer. Now let's see what they do with those rules, and then hopefully they'll realize over time they'll reach a better version of morality, and they'll be better people. But you have people who are stuck in these religions that are back to the fire and brimstone, and they're not moving things forward. But obviously I don't believe in the God anyway, so
This guest shows nothing, to be honest. You guys live in this world, you live once, you live happy every day. You do not see this life as a test. For example,
no, I don't see it as a test, but life can definitely be testing.
As he's proving with this video. Also, I'm pretty sure his life started with his bang. Otherwise, his mother and father wouldn't have had him.
Yes, all our lives started with the Big Bang.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, some guys,
But the universe didn't start with an actual bang. I'm just reiterating that point. It needs to be said again and again until you actually look into it. Please look into it.
Example, if a teacher gives you a test and the teacher then takes your test and gives you full marks, you didn't revise, you didn't do anything.
Already did.
You were...
Sorry?
My teacher already did give me full marks.
That's true. This is silly though. I mean, consider the teacher already knows what everyone's going to score no matter what they do. Why are they even giving them a test in the first place? I mean, we can put these crap analogies back at you.
Well, not just that. Teachers don't just give you full marks for no reason. The reason we revise is because we don't just get given full marks. You can't just play every day and get full marks.
And when you're taking a test, you fully know the parameters of that test. It's completely clear as to why you are taking that test. You're not taking a test where question 1 could be about going and playing a game of football and taking apples with you, but then it could also be 3 plus 7, but it could also be what's the earliest date that the COVID vaccination was released in the UK, but also because that's kind of what it's like with all the different religions, and even within a specific religion, all the different takes on that religion. If there is a test, it's really not clear what the test is, or that there's actually a test. If I'm going into an exam, I've got a test, I know it's a math test, it's going to be on math problems, and it's going to be about what I've been studying the last few months or year or whatever. If I'm going for an English test, it is going to be an English test. If it's on literature, it's going to be about a book or a series of short stories or something like that I've read, or poetry, whatever. So...
Yeah, I think a Muslim would say, well, the Quran is the study material and the test is on the Quran.
But we already know that there's a lot of flaws.
And not just that, how does you know it's not the Bible or the Vedas?
Yeah, without some form of circular reasoning.
God to tell us.
Yeah.
Well, without a God to tell us which one is right.
Especially when the same God has apparently said all these ones are right.
Yeah.
Like... What credentials does this God have to qualify it to adjudicate the test results?
And as someone who sat many exams, the adjudicator sits in the room with you and walks around, making sure you're not cheating.
Though you would probably hear them say, well, yeah, God is with you all the time too.
It doesn't look like it. I can see the adjudicator in an exam hall.
I'd agree with you, but, got to see with your mind and your heart, Dave.
Also, if God can't go where sin is, he definitely cannot be with me.
Playing all day, playing. The teacher just takes your exam, make you full mark, pass. Will that be very just of the teacher, a man that did very hard work and revised for the whole night and got full mark, while the other guy was playing, drinking, sleeping, eating, and then got full mark?
I mean, this is again like one of these like unfair things that, if there is only heaven, so there's no hell, what's the purpose for me to worship and seek guidance from God? Like, what kind of God wants you to worship them? What kind of God needs adoration? Is this the sort of thing that a perfect being really wants? Does a perfect being want for anything?
Apparently he wants us to pass tests. I mean, he says, I can just enjoy life, then die and go to heaven. Well, apparently that's what a lot of them believe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of Muslims who do follow the Quran, but there's also a lot of Muslims who do a lot of bad things and break a lot of the things that the Quran says and still believe they're going to heaven.
Yep.
Oh.
Is that really what you think? Is that your logic in your brain? You research in your brain, and you research in your brain, think. Use your brain meats, activate your brain cells. Your brain been deactivated for a long time.
Is that really your logical and scientific perspective? Kill or give charity doesn't matter. You will just die and sleep forever. Okay, so It does matter because you will be affecting lives and you'll be affecting memories and, killing people. You'll be taking lives, giving to charity. Hopefully you'll be enhancing people's lives. So it does matter. It just doesn't matter in the afterlife sense. Die and sleep forever. No, death is not sleep. Why don't you try and open your heart and mind and seek the truth and guidance in this world? You know what? I hear this so often. There's this assumption that you've never opened your mind. I have been a theist, right? And I have looked, and I am still open. But the truth and the guidance that I have found have not come from gods, because the gods have not provided any. Humans have brains for a reason, so use it to your advantage. Yes. But I think that one might come back at you exactly the same, right? Like we've mentioned a few times tonight, there's definitely some areas where you're lacking a lot of knowledge, and you're sort of approaching this conversation from a point of ignorance, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're all ignorant about many things. We all have gaps in our knowledge, even in things that we think we know a lot about. There's gaps there, especially in things we think we know a lot about, to be fair. But you clearly are trying to talk about topics that you're basically saying they're a load of crap without showing any understanding of the actual topic. If that is your only understanding of things like evolution and the Big Bang and planetary orbits and so on and so forth, no wonder you think it's all a load of crap.
Yeah, I have opened my heart and mind, and I sought truth and guidance, hence why I have this book.
Epistemology by Robert M. Martin.
And why I have this book.
The Life You Can Save. Ah, yeah.
And, all those books.
For a long time. So that's it. These are my 4 questions. And I wanted to research more about religions, research about Islam, research about Christianity, research about any other religion. Any free time that you have, any spare time that you have, give it just a small moment to research about religion, to research the figure of God, to research the figure of Allah.
Back at you. I'd like you to become a better version of yourself and start seeking the truth. And I'd like you to sort of understand that you made some bigoted comments in that video, that there are issues with the Quran, there's issues within the Bible, there's issues within tons of religions, that plenty of religious people, just like plenty of atheists, are really good people, regardless of what they actually believe or disbelieve or lack belief in, whatever. And there are plenty who are not. And I'd like you to find the truth about these things that I mentioned earlier, evolution and so on and so forth. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that, Dave?
Yeah, I'd like him to start hating on LGBT people and stop using crap attack helicopter memes.
And to research how this world is all in line perfectly. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope everyone has a good day.
Well then.
We did well. Only an hour and 45 minutes for a 3-minute video.
6-minute video.
Oh, 6 minutes. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
We've done really well, to be fair. Usually
we got better at this.
Yeah. Usually a minute video takes us 2 hours. Dave, was there anything you wanted to add about tonight's video?
Nope. Just that it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was nice. Thank you to that guy. He is called Sycumen5. So if you want to go by and say hello to him, then please do. Maybe point him in the right direction for a bit more information. Well, thank you everybody who's watched tonight, and thank you Dave for being here, and thank you Muslim Guy for that questions for atheists video. Hopefully we've answered your questions, and you can come back at us and have a conversation with us about stuff in future once you've had a chance to look into a few more things. So that's going to be it from us tonight, and I hope you have a fantastic one. Make sure you check out the series of morality shorts and a new series on epistemology shorts that are coming out. I'm Joe.
And I'm Dave. Sorry, I was just reading Kimmo's.
Have a good night. Thank you.